Cool. So good to see you, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, Sean. Yeah, couldn't be better. Couldn't be better. How are you?
I'm good, and yeah, I'm not surprised by your answer given the numbers that you're pushing out there.
Yeah, we're trying. We're making it work. We are. We're making it work. Yeah, we'll get into the numbers later. But
Mm.
going well, going very well.
So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Like, when did you actually? Before we get into Amazon, tell me a bit about who you are before you got into the game.
My name's Caleb. For anyone that you're probably going to see it in the title, 23 years old. Me and my brother started Amazon about 18 months ago. Before that, we were always kind of trying to find something to do. You know what I mean? Never wanted to do the 9 to 5 for 40 years, get a pension, retire, finance car, finance house, and that'd be it really. Um, Tried a few things, tried our own clothing brand, tried drop shipping, we're into Forex, tried crypto, and then eventually just hit Amazon FBA and it just took off. And we've stuck with it ever since. Bit of shiny object syndrome along the way,
Oh
trying to
yeah.
divert into other things and think, is this worth it? Are the margins worth it? Is this all this time I'm putting in?
I wasn't like you when I was your age. I was so distracted by partying, and I kind of just assumed the 9 till 5 until you're retired and then you die. I thought that was the natural course of life. So I love the fact, looking at the younger generation of you guys, I love the fact that 16-year-olds are, grinding to try and make a business. It's so cool to me to see that it's going to something productive.
Yeah, definitely. I think amongst my generation, that kind of, like you say, like even 16-year-olds are doing it. But I feel like that 18 to, 23, 24 range, it's just getting plastered in our faces through social media, through YouTube, through other sources. It's just like, get that side hustle and, don't work a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life. But yeah, that's, we're on the way there. I handed my notice in. So I've finished full time in 3 weeks. So I can't wait. I cannot
Yeah.
wait. It's finally happening.
What
But yeah.
about your brother? Is he still working?
No, so we made a decision about 4 months ago to basically just put our lives on the business full time. We were hitting a point, we were doing decent numbers. We were hitting around 6K profit a month at that time. And we were just like, we're doing bricklaying. So for the 40 hours a week you were doing it, it was full time on site, laying bricks. You were having to come back, prep pallets and pallets. And it was like, you should get out of that job as soon as possible because I was doing remote IT work. So me being home half the time, it just helped in, keeping, I could regularly do whatever I wanted whilst at home. So yeah, it helped massively.
When I was having a chat with Sam Lav, I think it was in our first podcast episode, I said, in my experience, most of the people I meet who do Amazon seem to come from trade professions. And I think guys who go into that are just drawn to this kind of business. But I have a similar background to you where I did a tech support role. And yeah, it just kind of fits in perfectly, doesn't it? When you work remotely in those periods of downtime. Of course, to anyone watching this, Caleb would never work on his business whilst he's doing
No,
everything
of
else.
course not. I'm still in contract, so no, I actually, it's always every day work, work, work. Um,
But yeah, those numbers that you just said are impressive. But I guess when there's two of you, 6,000 in profit is very decent, but it's still kind of risky, isn't it, for you to both leave your jobs and jump straight into it? So you're taking the plunge, which I personally I love that. I know a lot of people just say to stay and work a bit longer.
yeah, definitely. And the fact that I think most FBA businesses are like this, it's just constant reinvestment anyway. It's not like these, drop shipping stores where you essentially spawning money out of thin air because you've got no real cost of goods in turn. You just create the website, the money just comes in, doesn't it? Because it's constant reinvestment. It was like we still haven't really pulled anything out, through PAYE or anything like that. So it will also just my job will fund our lifestyle. We can live off 2K a month. That pays for we share a car. We're still at home, so board, food, all that stuff. That just kept us afloat for the past 12 months. And we've hit a point now where last month we did like 16, 17K profit, and we're like, okay, we can pay ourselves now enough to where it's like it's worth just going full time.
That's really good, man. It's everything's so much cheaper in the north. Where I live down in the south is, it's it's about £2,000 just for rent and food. And then, I'm a big guy, so I eat a lot. So that's not even eating out. And then there's three of us in this household. My partner and I support her younger sister who's going to uni. So the idea of two people surviving on 2K a month, that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, we still live with our parents, so it's like rent's not too much. But we looked to getting our own house at some point, and we thought, wow, yeah, really just tidy down. In terms of losing that security of the 9 to 5. So you get paid 2K a month, but your expenses just from the house and food is what 1.2, 1.3. It's like it made sense why it's difficult to leave.
Yeah.
You need to have that security with your business first, where it's like I can consistently churn or pay myself 2K a month. So it's a long time to get there.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat the other day, and the number of people past 30 who are still living with their parents, or who are still going back to live to they're still going back to live with their parents. That number is skyrocketing, and it's because of this cost of living crisis we're in. So if you're someone who's lucky enough to get along with your parents and have that kind of security, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You have to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I'd end up going nuts if I had to live with my mother.
We're getting that way.
Yeah, I bet. Well, you're a young entrepreneurial lad. I can understand you want to have your space. So tell me about the shiny object syndrome. You said you were battling, because I have similar things.
Yeah, so because we've essentially pivoted from full-time wholesale, moving towards more OA. And wholesale just got to a point, we still do all the prep ourselves. Wholesale, we're at a point where we were doing pretty much like a pallet every other day with, half pallets or little bits coming in. And it was just getting to the point where it's so tough. And before we pivoted to OA, we were like, let's just start drop shipping. You see, we kept seeing it coming over our feed. We were getting spammed with people saying like drop shipping's the new way, it's no cost of goods. Evaluating margins with Amazon, hitting hurdles. It's like, damn, it was tough. It was tough, like getting some sub 10% margin months, after all expenses and stuff. So we tried branded drop shipping. We tried that for like 3 months, but then we were doing about 50K a month with Amazon at this point. And we took about 3 weeks off, not fully off, more like, only a couple of hours sourcing a day instead of like 4 to 6. Reorders weren't hitting, all the prices were breaking on our listings. And Amazon it was slowly coming down, and we thought, we've worked 10 months on this, like 10 hours plus a day each. Let's just stick with it. Like, we just have to stick with it. It just didn't turn out as we hoped, drop shipping, but yeah, Amazon is going great now.
So being a prolific networker, I love chatting to people. I've spoken to people who do really well on Amazon who tried shipping and it didn't work. And I also speak to drop shippers who tried Amazon and it didn't work for them. It's kind of, the business models are so different. You have to pick and choose which one is more suitable to your personality type, I guess. And I've tried lots of different things, and I can tell you, drop shipping, whilst the margins can be better, the amount of money you can potentially lose in it, in my opinion, is much higher because the cost of advertising is so high.
Yeah, definitely. It's a whole different ballgame, really, isn't it? Because you've gone from reselling someone else's brand, where you don't have to do the marketing, you don't have to do the branding, you don't have to really get your name out there. And, you might only start with one product drop shipping. To grow that product line to 5, 6, 10 products is it's so much, like you say, ad spend as well. Whereas it's could be just two completely separate businesses, really.
Yeah, one thing I always say to people as well is Amazon throws so many hurdles at people. I think less experienced people always think, oh, it must be so good doing that model because you don't have to deal with these problems. But no matter what business model you do, there's always problems in it. They're just different problems. And granted, Amazon does create a lot of hurdles which are quite avoidable, in my opinion, but that's just part of the game. It's part of business, isn't it? You've got to learn to have a thick skin and be resilient through troubles.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I mean, RP claims are just in itself tragic, and the fact that your Amazon account can get kind of rug pulled beneath you like that is also it definitely contributes towards the fear factor, and especially once you kind of get into Amazon and start realizing all the problems that can happen. I think that's why a lot of people quit.
Yeah. I was actually having a chat with a guy the other day who was doing about 50K revenue consistently every month, really, really good profits. He bailed on Amazon as soon as he could because the amount of cash that you need to have tied up in it to get it to work, and then you have to reinvest everything. He was the kind of person where having that amount of money tied up scared the crap out of him. And it didn't work. Like, even though the profits were fantastic, he doesn't have the kind of financial disposition that you need to be able to do it, just because it's so, as you say, if you get a section 3 and you lose your account, you're screwed, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've thought about that. What would happen? You know, I mean, all the inventory return, how you'd sell it on, all that. Yeah, it'd be sort of ruin people. I see a bunch of stories, especially on the American side of things.
Mhm.
People just having to completely just that full dynamic shift, like go all full time Walmart seller instead of Amazon. Because having like probably thousands of wipes or like whatever you're selling, whether it be monitors or bikes, like how do you shift that on? Whilst taking the hit from Amazon on them returning it. Because
Yeah.
if you've got 2,000 units and they're reasonably large, they're going to charge you or probably 5K just to send it back to you.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You're paying fees and having it in the warehouses in the FBA fulfillment centers, and then you're paying fees getting the items returned as well. So if it does go badly, it can go very badly. But that's why we try to teach best practice in the server. We say, don't limit your risk and don't do anything dodgy, because if there's a problem, it will be a really big headache.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So many things can go wrong, though. That's business, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't. I say this so many times, but you literally can't succeed without taking some risk. You've just got to gauge what your risk tolerance is, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And making the mistakes yourself is a massive part of it. Like, as much guidance as even we got, we had to, get the MRP claims, get the counterfeit claims, get the patent infringement claim, whatever it is. You've got to really make those mistakes to become a better seller yourself. Because truly, as wise as some people are, no matter what you're told, you never really learn until you make that mistake yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's the kind of thing. So mentorship is fantastic. I'm a big fan of courses and mentorship, because all the successful people that I look up to in business, all of them do mentorship and courses and everything like that. And when I say they do them, I mean they pay for mentorship. And one thing that you just said that I think is so true is you can't pay to learn what life experience can teach you. You can avoid other people's mistakes and you can learn from other people on how they succeeded. But the mistakes you'll make along the way are so invaluable, and you just can't buy that from other people.
Yeah, 100%. I used to hate courses as well. I used to before I bought one and became successful in it. I was like, not a chance. I was like it's pyramid schemes and stuff like that. But until even at the stage I'm at now, I've had that many people come to me and be like, "Can you teach me?" Um, until you really get to that stage, you don't fully understand why people even do them. Like, yeah, it's just the knowledge in itself, but the fact that you're having to pay for it is because, for example, once you hit 20K a month profit, it's like for me to actually delegate 4 hours of my day now to teaching other people. It's my time's worth £100 an hour just working on the business itself. So it has to come out of charge, that knowledge.
Yeah, I actually said that in a previous podcast, where a lot of the people who are quite negative towards courses and learning and stuff, they have no idea how many people ask you to make them. And it's like, it's money on the table, isn't it? If you have that knowledge and you've spent money and time to learn it, I don't see it as anything different than uni. The whole point of university is to get a job that makes you money. But if you can learn a business thing that makes you money, I don't see the difference.
Yeah, exactly. People happily pay 40K, go 4 years and learn a standard education that might not even guarantee you a job. But yeah,
Yeah.
working for yourself and having access to that information. That's why the internet's amazing. So it's great. That's why we got Elias out of his job earlier, because Elias was just constantly full-time working, all that stuff. We thought it's going to be more valuable getting you out of your job first. Instead of us both quitting at the same time. It's just that compound, that extra 8 hours a day on the business works absolute wonders. And some people don't realize how valuable that time can be, in terms of the exponential curve. It just rockets progression.
Yeah, I'm having a similar thing right now where my partner is still working, and she loves her job and she's really good at what she does. She's an SME, and we are very excited for the day where she can quit everything else and focus on our business full time because of what you just said. It's just so exponential when you can dedicate more time to it. But in the position we're in right now, it just doesn't really make sense. And she still loves her job, so we're thinking may as well she can pursue her career whilst it's enjoyable to her, and then we can do business stuff later on. But I really like the fact that you're doing this with your brother, because the stressful periods you have are going to be so much easier to handle whilst you've got each other's back.
Yes, 1,000%. If I was to recommend anyone go into business, with any business, I feel like having a business partner there with you throughout the whole process from beginning to end, it, it's just so much better. So throughout anything, throughout, like you say, struggles, even throughout the high times, not getting too excited about stuff, like just keeping each other at that base level. Healthy competition as well between me and my brother. We've always been that way. It's just having a business partner is absolutely fantastic. We've actually taught our two friends. We taught them separately. They incorporated separately with their own Amazon sellers. One had loads of leads, no cash. One had loads of cash, no leads. And it was like, when they come together, it's just absolutely rocketed.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's amazing. I have heard some people run into issues if you log into your seller account like if one of your mates logs into his seller account at your house on your Wi-Fi, that can cause problems apparently. So just be careful there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard the stories, but we've never had any issues.
Right.
On the same Wi-Fi, laptops must be within a meter of each other. No issues at all. He's logged in onto my device on his seller account and vice versa. In like printing labels and stuff at the unit. No issues.
Fair. I guess if you're following the rules, it shouldn't be an issue. It's people who are kind of skirting with the morally grey that maybe run into issues.
Yeah. I think so. I think if it was at a personal address, it might be different. But we're in a commercial office, so I suppose it could be kind of justifiable. Because whether they're tracking IPs to know that people are at the same thing. I think if it was registered to the same personal address, then it might be a bit different. But yeah, we've been fine.
So you said you're in a commercial office. Talk us through that.
So about 6 months ago, I want to say now, we've had a unit we've basically got a commercial office and a commercial unit, and they're literally within 300 meters of each other. Same company, fantastic setup. About 6 months ago, we've had the unit for about a year now. We just thought, instead, because basically we were all in the unit. So next to our pallets and next to all our products, our printers, our tape, boxes, all that stuff, we actually put 4 desks in the unit. Spiders falling from the ceiling. We had all the dual monitor set up all of us. It was like real ghetto. And we thought it's time to just get a commercial unit instead. A bit of comfort. It's nice in here. We got lights. We've got a window, which were a big upgrade. Got a carpet. Yeah, it's great. I'd love to show you. But if I spin this camera, it's going to look really bad on the stream. So I might send you a picture you can input on the video. I'll send you one actually. You can just put it in.
Do it. Right. That sounds like the dream to me. I love the idea of building a team and then all working in the same environment, because my previous career, it was a very like fast paced environment. Most people in the office, especially before COVID, obviously. And whilst I do love running my own business, I love working in a team, and I'm one of those guys that actually likes being around people in the day. So I can imagine that's super fun.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it literally is. I mean, we're literally must be 14 hours a day. Me and the lights, and then them two come in after their 9 to 5s at 6, and we'll stay till 12, literally every night. It's great. Lights on, just firing leads between us all, firing conversations, ideas. It's fantastic.
That's the way to do it.
Setup. Yeah, mini fridge, coffee machine, 2 samurai swords, couple whiteboards. It's great. It's like the optimal setup. It's fantastic. I love
I've heard of samurai swords being exchanged when you do work with Japanese businessmen, but never at Amazon.
it. Parallel imports.
Yeah.
No, that was just a gift. But yeah.
Nice. So, what I was going to ask you was, a lot of people start on OA and their aspiration is almost always to go to wholesale, whereas you started on wholesale and you're going to OA. Talk us through that.
So wholesale was, we had a lot of wholesale leads, but because we were still doing all the prep ourselves, we were getting that many products in. It was just tough. We were literally labeling all of it ourselves, so it were thousands of units every night, and we just some of our lines were sub £1 profit a unit, and we thought we want to eventually outsource this. We want a prep center eventually, because the plan is to travel a lot this year and next year, especially once I'm out of the job. And we thought, if I'm working with £1 profit per unit, if I go to a prep center and they might be charging even 30p ex VAT, that's still like 50% of my profit margin wiped out on all those products. Now I know that you can work deals, but because we were basically all wholesale and our average sale price were like £8, £9, £10 when we were still doing like 66k revenue months, it just weren't feasible. So it was a funny story as well. We pivoted. I basically thought our VAT bill was going to be like 20k. So we stopped spending at the start of November and saved up all this money in the bank. And then my accountant got on the phone to me and he was like, yeah, you're actually getting a VAT reimbursement. So you're paying you like 1k. So we're like, real thing. So we can go back to spending, and Black Friday hit and it'd be like, everything just came together all at once. And yeah, once Black Friday hit, we were just like, let's just do that. It's just too expensive. Can't take it away. We'd wanted to do it for a little while before that. We'd seen leads, we'd seen people posting about it. I thought, wholesale's good, it's working. I'm getting a few brand direct deals. Let's just keep going with it. And yeah, it all just came together at the right time.
I'm torn because I was the same as you. I got a really good relationship with a supplier where I worked very closely with a brand. And it was I've said before, it was a bit of a golden ticket for a while, but it's items that were below 15 quid. And you've got so little margin to play with there, don't you? So it's tricky when you want to grow and expand or outsource. It's very difficult to do that with low cost items. But I also know people who've done high ticket and it didn't work out well for them because of returns and unexpected restrictions. So it's you can see the pros and the cons of both of those.
Yeah, definitely. I think my personal view on it is that if I would teach anyone how to sell on Amazon, I wouldn't recommend going straight into high ticket away. I think because the barrier to entry is high enough as it is. Like, cost of goods being £150 per product. And it's like when you're starting out, if you might only have, we started out with £300. If you only have between that and £1,000, it's like, would I really just buy 4 of these products? And I might be waiting a month for them to sell, even 2 months on some listings, depending on how saturated they get, even 3 months, and sell it at a loss. I would always recommend just to build your account health up, because it's around per 200 products, per 200 units sold, you get 4 account health. My thing would be start with almost wholesale. You could start with RA. That's how we did. Start off with RA wholesale, build up a decent account health, get your inventory performance index, up there, so you can start winning the featured offer over other sellers. And then slowly transition into high ticket away. That would be my thesis on how to become as successful as fast as possible and keep things easy for you, I suppose. Especially if you're doing the prep, because starting out, you don't really want to be doing the prep yourself. But it's easy for me to say when I've got like a 4-man team and we can all be labeling at the same time. Whether it's our products or their business's products, we help each other out. So it makes things so much easier for us. But I can kind of understand why solos will get a prep center very early, because I could not imagine labeling a full pallet solo, especially once you've got multiple pallets for a week. That would just be so.
My partner and I, we started more on online arbitrage, but we did retail arbitrage as well. And when I showed her your results back when you had the gold rush, which we can talk about, I told her about what you and your brother were doing, and she was like, "That's really great, but that is not sustainable."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We found that out very soon. Once we ran out. For anyone wanting to know, within me and Elias started FBA around it. We incorporated on the 19th of July, 2023, and by October 31st, we'd done about 27K in profit. That was from a complete, I call it luck it, but at the same time, we took advantage of the situation. So we used our brain on entirely luck. But we used
Make
to
your own
like,
luck, my friend. You make your own
yeah,
luck.
definitely. That's actually, I actually got a chessboard with my name engraved in it. And once you open it up, it says my name, and below it is a quote. It says, "If you try every single day, you'll never miss a lucky day," which I thought is very, very true. And I live to that. But yeah, me and Elias used to do RA, like, we were literally doing it after our jobs from like 5 till 10 every night. Just going to Sainsbury's, going to Tesco's, reading up on, checking links that we bought before. But this is kind of at the start. So we had a couple in there. We thought, yeah, let's pick up some more WWE characters from Smiths that were all like go to. And one Saturday, we basically planned this like 8-hour route out. We went on Google Maps, planned, the most efficient route, how to go all the way around Manchester, back through Blackburn, into Burnley. And one day we picked up 8 of these Brita Maxtra water filters. And they've been put on clearance at £17.50. Anyway, got them in, labelled them, packaged them, sent them off. Went available about 7 days later. All of them sold in a day. There must have been about 20 of them. Graphs were like this, and then all of a sudden, 700 quid there. It's like within 3 weeks of selling, I think, officially. I had a week off work. Somehow it's like I knew. I booked a week off annual leave about 6 months prior. And I go straight to Sainsbury's, where they were on clearance. I'm like, "Excuse me, mate, have you got any of these products?" Pull up sats showing the listing, 20K sales per month. He didn't know that at the time. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, come back here." And he pulls out this trolley. The trolleys were like everything in them. I'll send you a picture of it actually, because I've got a full documentation of all this entire stint of the grade. Pulls out full trolley. He's like, "Yeah, they've gone down to £10.50 instead of £17.50. And this is like 180% ROI. Like I said, 20K sold past month. Anyway, I buy all of them. I get home, label them, package them in, send them in, like 1K there, 1K there. And at that point, we were like, right, this is next level. We need to buy all of these. And so over the course of the next, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks, we spent every single day ringing every Sainsbury's up. I literally rang every Sainsbury's in the UK, found out the SKU number, said, "Have you got this in?" At £10.50, they said, "Yeah, we've got 300 units." We got insured on a brand, went down, picked up all of them, and did about probably 28K profit on just that one product alone, and then realized that we'd bought them all at one point. In the UK, there were no more clearances on them. I searched literally everywhere. I went to every retailer, said, "Can you give me them at this price?" They said no. After that was our RA stint. That's how we basically that's how we got our startup into wholesale. We thought, this isn't sustainable anymore. We ran out. I was like looking in Europe and everywhere, and then I realized that I can't really import them. And yeah, slowly transitioned into wholesale after that. But that was tough.
I was loving that story while you were living it, whilst you were going through it. Every time you had an update, I wanted to know because, we just said you make your luck, but that is not a typical beginner entry into retail arbitrage. You hit gold and then you capitalize on it very smartly by contacting all the stores. I think a lot of people wouldn't go into that kind of level of detail. And yeah, I love that story because the amount of profit you were making was nuts.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, me and Shawnee were met. This is how me and Shawnee kind of almost spoke for the first time. Shawnee saw the results and he was just messaging me like, "How are you doing this?" And I was like, I found some gold dust. I didn't want to give it away at the time because I did sneak peek it in the Discord, and some other people capitalized, but they didn't nearly take it to the level we did. Um, but yeah, it was great. That was actually one of the most enjoyable experiences, like over the past, 2 years, going into business. It was around October time. The sun was still out. We were like driving through all three national parks, going down into Swansea and Cardiff, filling the van. So we're like 8K profit, and then going back up to Burnley and labeling it, and it's selling within 2 weeks. You just couldn't keep enough stock in. That was the thing. We picked up, I think, 2,000 units, but the listing we're doing 20K volume. That's one. So it was like,
Nothing, is it?
it was literally like all of it go available and sell instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Crazy. And then slowly realized the hard way that not all Amazon FBA is like this, 180% ROIs. It was just crazy. It was wild, 50% margin days on 3K revenue. Why? Oh,
We've got a video in our course that's recorded by Sam, and he goes into the detail of the exact kind of gold rush, but it was for air fryers, and I think it was during COVID where air fryers, it was like 20 to 30,000 per month were being sold, and if you can keep it, you can go into the graph and you can see every time Amazon goes in stock, they sell out of stock within 15 minutes. And that's Amazon, so you can imagine the volume they must be doing. It was just absolutely crazy.
yeah, there's. I feel like there is always an opportunity out there like that. Sorry, but it's like you say, the sustainability of it. We tried doing it shortly after, because that ended, I think, maybe a week into November, 2 weeks into November, and for that 6 week period until the new year, we were like, right, let's try and keep this up. Let's see if there's anything else. I did 6 weeks of RA and it was just like, we were back to WWE characters and all that stuff. And it just weren't, we weren't getting there. So we thought wholesale it is, we need to now get pallets and stuff, especially with the big injection of cash we got, all that profit. We thought we need to just start churning lots.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision. Like most people I talk to who ask advice on wholesale, I think they're expecting that you can get a wholesale account and you can just get really good deals with, like, I don't know, 500 to £1,000, but they're competing against other people that have tens to hundreds of thousands. So when people can't find profitable items, I always think, yeah, of course you can. You need a lot of capital for that to work. Well, the way you do it, where you go brand direct, that was my mentality as well, and that was why I was when I spent ages trying to get wholesaler accounts, it just didn't work. But when I went brand direct, it was actually fairly quick, but the margins were lower. So yeah, I just wanted to say as well, just going back onto you calling the stores, that to me is such an important skill that you're thinking outside the box that most people wouldn't do. And it just goes to show how important it is just talking to people, whether it's other people on Amazon or it's retailer store owners. You never know what luck you're going to get without you trying. I love the fact that you did that. And yeah, if anyone is listening to this, definitely put yourself out there, even if you're nervous. I know a lot of people are quite anxious and don't like talking on the phone or don't like approaching store managers in a store. But if you can get into the habit of doing it, man, it can be so lucrative.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we were ringing up Sainsbury's and clicking on option 3 to say we were staff. It was like, if you're staff and you need to report an absence, click option 3. I was like, right, clicking 3 straight to the manager. I was like, here's the SKU number. Have you got any in stock? They were like, yeah, let me just check my stock check. Check her out. Yeah, we've got 100 in. Okay, cool. Put them to the side. I'll be up in 3 hours. Not like driving to Glasgow on like a Friday night. Yeah, it was fantastic. Great experience.
I've got a bit of a story around when I was what was I? I would have been about 16, something like that. When I was in college, I was working at Tesco's on the tills, and one day at my till, some guy came in from Glastonbury, and he bought the entire store's alcohol selection, and it was during, yeah, you can imagine the amount of money he put through the till. I had to get managers coming over to give him a deal because he was buying literally all of it. And yeah, it was during Glastonbury Festival, and he'd spent tens and tens of thousands on alcohol, and he sold out in the first half a day. So he was going to every single store he could hit, and this was in Yeovil, so it's quite far from Glastonbury. You can imagine how many stores he hit, but man, that was a hell of a gold rush. I would have loved to have seen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Festival prices as well. It's like instant 2 times markup.
What would you say? What would you say to anyone listening who is kind of going okay, but they might be struggling with their margins? Because you just said that you had some months where you were sub 10%. And I think most people I see who highlight their stats, they're highlighting gross. They're not factoring in all their costs. So, what did you do to overcome the barriers with low margin?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to answer that because there is so many variables that jump within that. Because on different months, it were usually for a different reason. For example, if I jump on a wholesale deal, there's always someone else will just undercut me. When you're doing wholesale, if you're buying a deal at 40% ROI and you're expecting it to stay at that, Keeper will give you a definitive answer as to whether it will. But like you mentioned earlier, you're always competing with. I never realized they were them fish in the pond, but you're competing with the guys who easily just buy a truckload for 100K and just sit on the stock for a year, and because that's the best deal. We going to the brand. I think going to brand direct is more, I think, sustainable in the sense that if the brand's not supplying to a wholesaler, like if the brand's not, L'Oreal or any of these huge brands, Fair, whether it's a Henkel buying group, that I think those products are difficult to sustain decent ROIs on, because usually whether they're selling 2K times a month or 500 times a month, there's usually massive fish that are going to jump on there incrementally and just rip the margin. Going brand direct, especially when it's a medium to small brand, you can pretty much guarantee that they're not going through wholesalers. They're not supplying to wholesalers. A brand that we work with only supplies to us and a couple of the sellers. And then their business outside of that, it's not going on third-party marketplaces. That's big corporations that use it. It's B2B still. But for example, NHS is one of them. Like, they just supply to the NHS and then a couple of Amazon sellers, and we just take over the third-party side of it. We transitioned into OA because we thought there were better margins, which, I mean, there has been for us. It might not be the case with everyone, but it's a difficult one to answer. Because, like you said, there's people who brick it. Sometimes you're not getting the best deal.
I think one thing in the UK, a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people don't manufacture their margins. So when they're buying the product, they're not trying to get it for the cheapest price. A lot of people I speak to think that you can just go onto a retailer website and buy the product at the standard RRP and it's going to be cheaper on Amazon, but it just doesn't work that way. But yeah, I like your mentality with high ticket. I've done fairly well with high ticket in the past. I went the other way. I did high ticket for a bit, and then I went to low margin wholesale. And I've spoken to wholesalers, and there are a lot of businesses out there that make really good money with low cost products. I think it's a lot harder to do that on Amazon because of the fees. So, if you're looking to really scale and grow, I don't know if it's the best decision to stick with that too long. There's plenty of people who sell everyday use products that do really well because of the volume they sell. But yeah, personally for me, I wouldn't stick with, if a product costs less than £15, I wouldn't stick to selling that for too long. When you're a beginner, totally go for it.
Yeah. Another point that I'd like to touch on with margin as well, I completely forgot to mention this initially, is that I'm not necessarily looking at my margin, because your margin fluctuates depending on fees per product. So if your average sale price is sub £10, your margin is intrinsically going to be lower. I'd just be focusing really on ROI at that stage, because I've got a product in my inventory now, which is leftover wholesale stock that I'm still selling. My ROI is 50%, my margin is 7%, which makes no sense. In terms of I'm buying a high ticket lead now that's selling for 900 quid, and it's 20% ROI. I think it's 17% margin. because the fees are so much lower. When you're doing the lower ticket, you know, your cost price might be £1, your sale price might be £6. You might be making 100% ROI, but because Amazon are taking a £5 fee, their fee is so large in that revenue that's generated that your margin is going to be shit anyway.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to swear. Bleep it
Sure.
out.
Yeah. We're not at the point of monetization yet. So yes,
Yeah.
sorry, like
Yeah, I thought, yeah, I'll go for it anyway. But yeah, I wouldn't be focusing too much on margin, especially for new sellers, because I think that's another massive thing that pivoted our margin, as it were. Our ROI is not actually as good as when we were doing wholesale. It's probably a little bit lower, but our margin's almost done like a 50% increase just from the fact that your margin is going to be so much higher with high ticket, because the Amazon fee might only be 10% of sale instead of 50 to 60 to 70% where it is on a sub £10 product.
that's interesting because when I say we, I mean the team at Seller Smart. We all had the exact same experience, but we went the other way. We stopped paying attention to ROI and only pay attention to profit margin. And it was because when we were selling higher ticket products, there were some that were like 21% ROI or 22% ROI. And if your minimum ROI requirement was 30%, you wouldn't pay attention to it, but the product itself was 16, 17% profit margin. And if you're basing your searching on a 15% minimum profit margin, that's actually above that. So yeah, we all decided to stop paying attention to ROI and just focus on margin. So it's interesting to hear how everyone sees a similar story, but in different ways.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, I just noticed that just from SDK randomly a couple of months ago. I thought, how myself, how's this 20% high ticket lead, 17% margin, but my um, but my 50 to 60% leads low ticket are like sub 10. I thought it's making no sense. It took me a good hour to work it out, but yeah, I usually, I mean, it's 30% ROI is our, you know, kind of average. I'd buy stuff at 20 if I know it's going to sell within a month, especially high ticket stuff. But yeah, it's all depending on how fast it moves, I think, ROI. I'd happily get a 20% ROI if I know it's going to sell within 2 weeks of it going available,
Yeah,
especially in being high ticket.
I have the same mentality because we collectively between us, when we were testing the software that we've developed, when we were testing them on our own stores, we tried loads of really high ROI products that had low sales per month. We tried low ROI products that had high sales per month. And although having high ROI products that sell low times per month can be really good, when you have too many of them in your inventory, it doesn't work. And we had some products that were just sat there for so long, we weren't churning through our cash. So what you just said, where you would go for 20% if you can sell it in 2 weeks, to me, that is the correct thing to do, because the whole business we're in is turning our cash over and reinvesting. And if you can do that quickly on a slightly lower margin, that's far better than your cash just sitting in Amazon's fulfillment centers.
Yeah, 100%. If you can turn an ROI lead 3 times, if you can turn a 20% ROI lead 3 times over the course of you selling a 40% once over that same time frame, you actually probably get more out of the 20% ROI lead where you will be.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's kind of our theory behind it.
That's one of the reasons as well that I haven't been paying myself or paying into a pension, and I follow the same mentality as James Sinclair, where I actually do believe that I can outperform a pension. And again, it's because of the reinvesting back into it. Like the stock market is great and the S&P 500 is great, but at this point in my life, I'm going to put a little bit into that, but I do believe I can outperform that in the short term. While I'm young enough that I can take more risk.
Yeah, 100%. I would not be. Yeah, I opted out of my pension within, I think, a year at my own answer. So I haven't been paying into it for about 3 years, 4 years, because I thought I'm not putting all my faith in GBP to stay at the value it is with inflation. You know what I mean? Bread used to be 10p, and now it's like £2. It's crazy. 40% of the entire monetary supply was printed over the past 3 years. So they're just devaluing it just from that in itself. So yeah, I'd rather rather chuck it in anything, whether it be a monitor or Bitcoin or.
I was just going to say one of my mates is a full stack developer who works for eBay, and in his company, in his section, he was the first one at the company to opt out of a pension. And in his mind, he's like, "Look at the world. I don't believe pensions are going to exist by the time I retire. So why would I?" And like, it's a bold strategy, Colton. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Yeah. You talked to me about crypto. I was telling you earlier today, I've ignored crypto deliberately, but it does seem like it's getting interesting with Trump's administration backing it and potentially rug pulling people.
Yeah. They're creating reserves, aren't they, for the United States? They're creating. I think they announced it. 5 different coins, was it? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and another one. I don't know. I've made some money in crypto. I've still got money in crypto. I wouldn't say I'm like an absolute expert on it, but I don't know. For the time being, I just know it goes up and down. So I'm keeping my bags locked and loaded. I haven't put any more in, which would be a good idea at this stage.
I swear, like the life cycle of an Amazon seller seems to be getting to Amazon, make money, and then go into property or go into crypto. It seems to be what everyone does.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen a bunch of people tweet about that on X. They just say tweet, post about it on X. It's like make money with ecom, chuck it in crypto, watch it 2x, and then kind of just repeat. But yeah, I think crypto's a crazy market for what it is. What it is, you just got to time it well. That'll be anything.
Do you ever watch Graham Stevenson?
No, I've never heard of him.
He's an American guy who he has a financial channel on YouTube, and he actually did a video recently talking about how investing in Bitcoin seems to be as secure and stable as investing in the S&P. I think I'm paraphrasing. I think that's what he said, but the average returns were about 8%, which matched the S&P. And out of all of them, I'm saying this as a very ignorant person to crypto, but Bitcoin seems to be a fairly secure one to choose. So yeah, it's fascinating to hear about it from you because you paid attention to it. I didn't, and I'm wondering if I should have.
Yeah, all them months ago when I mentioned it, I don't know. With the stage it's in at the minute, I mean, if you'd have took profits, along the way and cashed out at the top, put back in at the bottom and stuff, you'd definitely be up. But I haven't done that, to be honest. I'm just too focused on Amazon and I just took money in there. I just left it, watched it go up, watched it go down, up and down, and it's back down. So I might put more in and actually cash out at the top this time. But yeah, I think Bitcoin's outperformed most assets over the past 10 years on an annual basis by some stupid numbers. So I just thought, yeah, why not? Finite amount of them ever created. There's a halving every 4 years type of thing. I thought, well, keeps going up. So
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I never got into it. Right, when you're trading in the stock market or when you're trading on Amazon, you realize like Amazon is essentially physical product stock trading essentially.
Yeah.
Why I never paid attention to crypto is I can't really see what I'm investing in. To me, it seemed like a Ponzi scheme where you are kind of reliant on other investors not pulling their money out, and there's no real. To me, I couldn't see an actual tangible thing that I was investing in. So I was just like, that's a scam. I'm not going to pay attention. But I know there's a lot of there's a lot of use case with it on there with how I can develop technology.
Yeah. I get what you're saying in that respect. When I first got into it, I was like, yeah, what actually is this thing? Like what people are building games on Ethereum. I was like, well, I were a bit of a gamer back then. I thought this could be cool. Like, I don't know if you ever played like mobile games like Clash of Clans, whatever it's like. You've got gems in there that you buy for GBP. I thought ETH could be like, it could be a currency within a game and stuff. You could earn it. And some of them are like that. But yeah, I know with Bitcoin, I don't know. There's a few points that I'm interested in. Just the fact that, I've never had $1 million in the bank. I know through fractional reserve banking that if you do have $1 million in the bank, then all the bank does is just it invests your money in other things to generate more money. Because like NatWest can't print money, only the Bank of England can do that. So they're trying to compete with inflation as it is. I think if you have 1 million in the bank's going to go and invest it in the S&P 500 or a house or try to flip it somewhere else. And I thought with Bitcoin, well, it's kind of like it's yours in that respect. You've got it on a ledger, you wear it around a necklace on your neck. It's kind of like you've got your million in this thing and you're holding it and no one else can. And the fact that you can transact like that, I think it's different. I've heard stories. I've never had 1 million, you know what I mean? Not in the bank one day. But I think I've heard that if you try and transact 1 million, between different banks, it's like you got to go through all this approval process and got to get bank managers involved and all that stuff. And it's kind of like you can't, I don't know, probably the black market will probably run on Bitcoin. So I don't know, that's probably where it comes from.
I can't believe the banking industry. Like you go into so many industries and you realize it's older guys who are asleep at the wheel and they're not innovating. And when I compare my NatWest bank account in comparison to my Wise or a Revolut account, they're just like they're so far behind, aren't they? They are
Yeah,
not
yeah,
keeping up with modern technology.
completely. But Revolut's like user interface is just crazy. The fact that
Mm.
you can trade stocks and crypto from your bank account. And it's like they've just introduced Rev Points. I don't know, you've probably seen that. It's like a credit card now. So any spending you do, you collect Rev Points, spend it on air miles, hotel stays, all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. NatWest, Barclays, HSBC and stuff, they're gonna have to do something. Because Revolut are promoting as well. Their ad spend must be pretty heavy as well. I see their ads everywhere. They're doing all the cool advertising. It's good to see.
Yeah, we see this in quite a few industries where I'm not going to say who yet because he still works there, but someone I know still works in this very big car company, and it's just these like boomer guys who used to make cars, but now the modern day is software, and they're as a company they're not prepared for it at all. It's really fascinating for me to watch it. It's like industry wide. It doesn't matter which sector you work in. This is something they were talking about on YouTube a lot recently, where there's a huge wealth transfer that's about to happen, isn't there? Where boomers are retiring, and they need to pass on their businesses, but younger guys don't want to do those roles. It'd be super interesting to see what happens to the economy over the next 50 years.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think with it, just e-commerce alone, like the amount of, like you were saying, 16-year-olds printing millions. This new age gap of the e-commerce where even just being a middleman, just branding some Chinese tech products and selling it for £100 on a website, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like you think 20 years ago, this was like completely impossible. The amount of new millionaires or just young people just earning ridiculous amounts of money, even through crypto. See these people put in £10 into a meme coin, and you wake up the day after and it's like 150 grand. It's like the world you live in today is crazy. The economy is just it's wild. It's wild.
I think that probably contributes to why there's so many people who, the boomer generation say people don't want to work anymore. And it's because we're saturated with social media posts where young lads are making millions, working 2 hours a day, they say, doing drop shipping or whatever. It's hard to feel incentivized to work yourself to death for 50 hours a week for someone else, barely making ends meet, not being able to afford a house when you can pursue being a content creator or an e-com guy and you can potentially make way, way more money. It's tricky. It's a tricky time we live in.
Yeah, it's strange where like the economy's gonna be like you're saying, that sense of how many people are being diverted away from your traditional like 9 to 5, pay a pension and kind of work in a body shop your whole life. I don't know. That might just be me because I'm surrounding my entire thought process and everything within the e-commerce sphere. But I don't know. I need to go back into the real world. I might spend a full day, go around Burnley Town Centre and see what's really going on.
I don't want to go back into the real world.
I'm secluding myself in this office. I don't know what's happening around me anymore.
Well, honestly, like I'm quite into philosophy and I like stoicism. And part of stoicism is protecting your inner sanctum. So instead of focusing all of your energy on the stresses of the world and your energy gets used up by being stressed by things that you can't control, I quite like that I've gotten into this routine of being in my own bubble where I only focus on myself, my family, and my business. Life just feels way more busy, but way less existential. You know,
Mm, yeah.
I'm focusing on what I can control, and I like that.
hmm Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to organize my routine once I leave my 9 to 5.
What's your
It's all over the place at the minute.
what's your plans? You said you were going to go traveling. Well, what's your plans there?
So I've got a few holidays booked already. Saved up the Amex points. I got a lot of Amex points saved up.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah. So we're gonna go. I think we're gonna go Cyprus in April, and then May I'm going Tenerife, and then a week after I come back, I go Turkey, and then after that, I think I'm going Poland, and then a week after that, I think me and Elias are gonna book somewhere else. But yeah, I've been waiting for this for a long time, being able to do whatever I want. It's Friday. So
My
cheers.
my partner's from Venezuela, and a lot of her family live in Spain. So Tenerife I've been to is really nice, and we actually went to Dalaman in Turkey, and mate, it's incredible. It's so cheap there. The English pound can get you a lot there. Like when we were on the island, the taxi drivers were screwing us over by charging us £5 to go from one side of the island to another in a 6-seater taxi. And they were considering that ripping us off.
Yeah, like go to London, it's like a 300-meter journey. It's like like a 10 hour. It's crazy.
Yeah, nuts. No, that sounds really cool. Well done. I haven't been to Poland yet, but I've heard it's amazing if you go to Krakow.
Yeah, I don't know where in Poland. We want to go. My friend's just been. He went on like a shooting range and he had old guns and stuff. I thought, that's cool. Let's try that out. So I think we're gonna. I think me, Elias, my brother, and my other brother, and that might go over there and see what it's about.
Yeah, my cousin is how do I describe him? He's like an adventurist who has a pack of wolves, and he goes out in his pickup truck with a rifle and he shoots. He goes hunting for deer and stuff like that. And he's convinced my partner and I to go shooting with him at a shooting range where this ex-military sniper teaches you how to hit a target from a mile away.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I
it
like
looks
the idea of
awesome.
that. I like the idea of that. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a good aspiration you have because I think one reason we didn't stick with retail arbitrage was our ambition was to always create a business that we can manage and then spend our time traveling and having a family and stuff like that. And I felt like while I was doing retail arbitrage, it was like this is good and it works, but I'm just creating another job for myself, which is what I don't
Yeah,
want to do.
yeah, yeah. Literally. We had that same thing before we went into wholesale. Like you can't really do this every day unless you're employing someone in a van to go and pick up our A products. It's just not sustainable at all. It's not. And so, yeah, I mean, we're still doing everything in house as well. So before I don't know. I think I might get someone in for these first chunk of holidays, but at the end of the year, I think we're gonna try to do a big holiday in all of next year. Just travel, do all of Asia, all of Europe. So at that point, it's gonna be multiple years, perhaps I know all that stuff.
I'm a little conflicted with that because my dream since I was 16 has been to travel Southeast Asia for 6 months to a year. And I still really want to do that, but I'm knocking on the door of 33. My partner and I are going to have kids soon. And I've actually heard from other entrepreneurs that when you go to places like Thailand, they're amazing, but it's really chilled. And if you're in grind mode and you're looking to scale and grow a business, it might not be the most appropriate place. Maybe Dubai is more appropriate, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've always wanted to go to Southeast Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more so going to be, yeah, it's not so much I'm going to like almost live there. It's kind of like just bounce from place to place, see everywhere at least. I'm going to be taking the laptop. It's going to be working over there, but yeah, it's more just see the place. I can't see myself living there.
No.
Probably got to do that.
I was going to say, would you copy the rest of the world and go to Dubai?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see it. I'll have to see it first. Because I like England. Born here and so I don't know where I'm going to live. That's kind of why I'm going adventuring to and find a nice spot. Whether it be in, I don't know, could be Croatia, could be, I don't know. I can't see it being Dubai unless I set up like a holding company there and, start start paying 0% income tax. But other than that,
I've been to Croatia. Croatia is incredible.
yeah, I've been to Split. I went to Split when I went to Croatia. I
That's
heard
where I went as well.
yeah, it's great. I loved it. I loved it. I went for a week, and yeah, time.
Yeah, that's the same place. We didn't want to go to Dubrovnik. Um, that is Croatia, isn't it? Dubrovnik.
I think Dubrovnik isn't the capital. I think there's like, it's like on the coast. I think the capital's up top, named something weird. Split's in the middle, Dubrovnik's at the bottom. Dubrovnik's where I think the old town is and where they filmed Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we decided not to go there and to check out Split because we heard so many people say it was amazing, and it was literally one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like yourself though. I'm very critical of the state of England right now, but I'm critical because I care. And I love the fact that I was born in England. I love the country, but they're not exactly making it a great environment to stay if you're trying to make a career and a business for yourself. So I'm a bit torn there. I'm not really sure what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the same. I've been seeing Mr. Dyson they're trying to hit him with all this tax just for leaving. It's crazy what they're doing.
Is there anything you wanted to talk about before we finish up? Anything you wanted to mention whilst you're here?
Sell of smart has changed my life. No. No, I really love what you guys are doing though. You, Reese, Al, I think you're doing an amazing thing. You guys are developing. I think I can see parts of everything within the FBA sphere just all being brought into one thing. You guys' marketing's great. I like the UI. I think you've got the nicest Discord server. I'd say that. Definitely say that's a pro. But no, other than that, I'm curious when you're going to be hitting your 6-figure months on Amazon, Shawnee.
Yeah, we've been like collectively, this has been a debate, right? So we've scaled back selling because we have, as you can imagine, we have so much work with Seller Smart. We've been probably a bit too ambitious to take on too much, and we're super busy. But we were debating where some people were saying, isn't it a conflict of interest that we have a prep center and we have an app and everything like that? Where the insinuation was maybe we shouldn't be sellers. And so we were all thinking maybe we should just focus on Seller Smart. But then I had a podcast with Charlie Swatkins, and he told me that people stopped paying attention to him when he stopped selling on Amazon because he kind of lost that credibility. And yeah, there was a bit of an internal debate, but for now we're focusing on Seller Smart, and I'm going to keep selling on Amazon. But my plan from the get go was always OA to build capital, wholesale to scale, and then I want to build a brand. And yeah, I've got a really excellent marketing agent, so that's my plan for Amazon. I want to build a brand. I don't want to constantly be competing with people, chipping away at the price. Yeah, that's not the game plan I want to focus on.
Yeah, 100%. That is I think that's one of our long-term goals as well, whether it be a brand in anything, whether it be a clothing brand, an activewear brand, a streetwear brand, even a physical product brand, a digital brand. Once I quit my job, we're going to try and focus on personal branding a lot. I'm going to get a little DJI Pocket 3, the little things that flip. And yeah, kind of start vlogging so you can build a personal brand out here. Have you ever seen Rob the Bank?
No.
Rob the Bank's cool. He's doing crazy numbers now with his own branded stuff. But he started on Amazon in about 2012. He was basically like marketing for all these huge brands at the time. He decided to build his own brand on Amazon. He got an exit of like I think 30 mil. I think that was 2020 or something. But he's really going back into it now. Kind of not necessarily drop shipping, but he's getting his own brand of products. He does like beef tallow and stuff, skincare, like health and beauty products. And he's basically saying that you need to be pushing this on TikTok Shop, massive way, as well as all your social media content, but you need an Amazon listing for it. He's like, you need that Amazon. He's basically saying that some people literally only shop on Amazon. He's based in the US, so I kind of understand it. But yeah, that's how he prints. He just has Shopify and Amazon both, just printing and printing. from his brands, which I think is kind of cool because he's almost, I think when I go to build a brand, and I'm sure when you go to build a brand, we're almost in that same situation where it's like we've started Amazon sellers, done a bit of PL, got our trademarks, know how to create your own listings and run some PPC ads. And then once you start the brand, you already covered. You just need to learn how to get them short form content videos up in really.
Yeah. Like, this is the tricky thing with being a business owner in econ. While I'm very aware that shiny object syndrome is a bad thing, I'm not the type of person to put all of my eggs in one basket. And when I did that with my wholesale product, I put 11 grand on a product that was working for me for 5-6 months, and then it went tits up the second I did. So I am definitely going to sell on Amazon forever, because why wouldn't you? The market is so huge. But yeah, I don't think I would be comfortable having my sole income coming from one platform, especially when you can lose your business at the hands of someone else, and bam, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Too risky for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, your own brand. I mean, we're just selling other people's brands, aren't we? Your own brand's all gotta be the ultimate end goal.
Cool. All right, Caleb. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was really good fun. Really good to have you on.
Yeah, no, thank you for the invitation. It's been a pleasure. First of many podcasts.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you with your results.
Yeah, I'll put a screenshot up here of the last 30.
Yeah, good man. Yeah, keep cracking on, man, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, all right. Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, mate. Bye bye.